Let's freaking go. It is a sad day, a happy day, a confusing day. Alabama needs to go get Lane Kiffin right now, but we'll talk about that. They is retired. The GOAT, who many consider to be the best college football coach of all time. I would say that he is. Obviously, we could have a GOAT debate between him. Obviously, a guy like an Urban Meyer, if he never got off the beaten path, would he be up there with Nick Saban? It's hard to argue against him being the greatest college football coach of all time. It's either him, Eddie Robinson, maybe a few others, but he is the GOAT. And to say that I am shocked would be an understatement. I thought he had at least two more seasons left with an experienced quarterback coming back. But you begin to think all the coordinator changes year in and year out, assistant coach changes year in and year out. Kevin Steele retires a few days ago. This maybe was writing on the wall that Nick Saban was going to be done. Obviously, a very heartbreaking loss in the college football playoff, but I am shocked. I thought he had a few more in him. I really, really, really do. So if you want to get your question in, I could see this live stream going absolutely crazy. But I just want to be open. This is a day of celebration for the rest of the SEC. It is amazing how many coaches Nick Saban inevitably fired, right? It could be something to talk about with Nick Saban's career. There are so many coaches that were pummeled by Nick Saban, Les Miles being one of them, Dan Mullen being one of them. There are so many legendary coaches, like really, really good coaches that weren't as good because of Nick Saban's dominance. It's truly breathtaking how dominant he was. No 3-loss season since 2009, I believe. That is absolutely crazy. I don't care if you have the absolute best talent in the world. It doesn't matter. Nick Saban still has to go out there, coach, make adjustments. The Georgia game was one of the best coach games of the season by anyone, and I felt Georgia was still the best team in college football. That was an absolutely crazy win. But when you take a look at Nick Saban's legacy, you look at the teams that didn't even win the Natties. They were some of the best teams I've ever seen. 2019 Alabama is one of the most talented teams I have ever watched. And it's crazy because they just happen to play the same season as the greatest team of all time, 2019 LSU. You go back and look at that 2016 Alabama defense. What a legendary group. Go all the way back to 21-0, a game that will forever hurt LSU fans. You give Saban a chance for a rematch, he's going to pummel you. So, look, it is nothing short of incredible what he's accomplished. And, of course, as many of you know, the most important accomplishment in Nick Saban's career was getting the mother effing train moving at LSU, winning the 2003 BCS National Championship with Marcus Spears, probably the most famous player on that team, but also Kyle Williams, also Justin Vincent, and so on, and so on, and so on. So, Nick Saban is done at Alabama. And Chris Lowe reported it. I believe Brett McMurphy has confirmed it. And he has also reported that Dan Lanning, the head coach at Oregon, is the leading, or should I say one of the leading candidates. Now, this is where it gets really spicy. If I am Alabama, I am hiring Lane Kiffin. I think it's worth it. Obviously, Lane's respect for Alabama is really high. Lane Kiffin also has coached at Alabama as an offensive coordinator. His relationship and praise and respect for Nick Saban is very much there. And I think that is a direction that they will go. but Dan Lanning seems to be the hot name, and I think those two names would be the hot names. So we take a look at the poll question right here. Lane Kiffin is currently winning the poll. So there you go. Now, for our LSU subscribers, we'll still go live at 6 p.m. Central for our normal show, but it's crazy. Everyone's going to have crazy Nick Saban stories. I have my own Nick Saban story of how I tracked him down for a one-on-one interview, which was wild. One of the biggest moments of my career. And yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let's start off here with E. Clay Thomason. It'll be interesting to see what happens when that portal opens back up, especially if Lane goes to Alabama. So there you go. Lane has been defending Saban relentlessly lately. I do think we say how Michael B., Sherry B., Kenneth, we're going to get to everybody's responses. The one thing I started up the live stream, and I was trying to get a quadruple confirmation that I'm not dreaming. Because what this does do, if you are tired of the Alabama dominance, this does open up the doors for someone else. Okay. If Alabama doesn't get this hire right, I do think this is a really big day for Texas. This is a really big day for LSU. But the truth is, those two programs are going to have enough talent to compete for national championships every year anyway. It's the schools that hardly ever had a chance versus Alabama, right? Arkansas never had a chance. South Carolina never had a chance. I know Ole Miss has gotten them a few times, but still, it's an uphill battle to beat them. I think those second-tier schools are probably the biggest beneficiaries of this. I might be wrong on that, but unless, of course, you are Ole Miss and Alabama comes in and takes your coach. So it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Still kind of shocked, obviously, as a one-time, or I say one-time, I'm a lifelong Nick Saban fan. Look, if you're an LSU fan and you got mixed results about him, this is what I would say. There are at least 10 other fan bases in the SEC that would trade a national championship with a coach that did what Nick Saban did. They would trade to be LSU any day of the week than to be in the position they are now with at least just one national championship. So as an LSU fan, not mad at Saban. Not mad at Saban anymore. Let bygones be bygones. He went to the NFL. But this is a painful time if you are an Alabama fan, right? I do think Nick is a little fed up with the direction college football has gone. We do, or at least we should say we have seen over the past couple of seasons, Nick Saban complaining a little bit more with the current college football day and time, with the transfer portal and warning people about the rule changes and NIL, and obviously taking shots at Jimbo at Texas A&M. You've seen him kind of complain a little bit more about the current college football day. You do have to wonder if that started to wear on him at 72 years of age. But the one thing I always thought about Nick, even at 72, he felt like a young 72, right? He never really looked out of place, if you ask me. You know, another legendary coach who's in his early 70s also had his career essentially ended today in Pete Carroll, as you know, the Seahawks decided to go their separate ways. It always felt when you watch the Seahawks, he was a little bit behind the times with the fourth down decision making, archaic offenses, physical defensive mindset. Where you look at a guy like Nick Saban, he still had all of that, but he was changing with the times. He was at times aggressive with analytical decisions, even though he was still a good bit of fourth down, old school line of thinking. Nick felt younger at 72 than a Pete Carroll feels at 70, whatever he is. So it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Let's go to Haley's. I will say, my wife, my dear beloved Haley, she did call this a few weeks ago that Nick Saban was out. Big day if you're an LSU fan, though. I don't know if an LSU fan is more excited about Bo Davis or if they are more excited that Nick Saban has retired. So we will talk about that on the LSU stream a little bit later. I'm just giving you my instant reactions to this. Max says Dan Lanning would scare me in Alabama more than Kiffin. True. I do think Lane is going to push for the job a little bit more than Dan Lanning would. But I do think those will be your two leaders. I do. So take that for what it's worth. But Nick Saban, done. He is done. Alabama recruiters. This is just somebody on Twitter telling me Alabama recruiters have been telling high schoolers that this was his last year. Okay. What are the rules with the transfer portal? That's a good question on Twitter. After the head coach retires, I think it opens briefly. If a coach retires, you're able to go in the portal if you want to. So apparently, could this be an opportunity for someone to go get some of these Alabama players? I don't think that they're going to leave. I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of players enter the portal after this. If there is a reopening of the portal after a head coach retires, I think there is, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that. So there you go. Skipper says, let's freaking go. Nick Saban is done. Now, another guy who I think would be interested in the job would be a Dan Mullen. He is one of the names that we have attached to this poll, but I do think Lane Kiffin and Dan Lanning will lead the way. Could it be an NFL guy that comes in? I mean, could it be I don't know, Mike Vrabel maybe takes the Alabama job? We'll see. But the truth is, Rusted says, thank God. See ya, Bear. I love it. Man, I just don't know if there would be two other names. I'm just trying to think of other college names just right off the jump here that would make sense. I don't know. Let me see. Who would take it? Okay. Would Steve Sarkisian take it? I don't believe in Dabo Swinney. I can't. I'm reading an Alabama Insider. He says Dabo Swinney. Would Steve Sarkisian go from Texas to Alabama? I don't think so. This was one name that came to me that I think would make a lot of sense. E. Clay, thank you for the super. The king is dead. Long live the king. There are a lot of college football fans that are breathing a sigh of relief. Okay. What's up, Marcus? Good to see you. Man, good to go a little bit earlier so Marcus can tune in. Your work hours are crazy, man. Jimbo Fisher is what Max says. The king is dead. Long live the king. All right. I'm going to give you one name. Now, this I don't know if I want to share this name. I really don't. Okay. But I'll do it anyway. And this would break the minds of college football fans everywhere. And this would be a Kevin Durant to the Warriors kind of feel to it. Okay. But what about Mike Norvell? All right. Think about where he is at Florida State. All right. Now, Florida State's roster was really good this season, but it was so stacked with transfers, right? It wasn't high school recruiting that got that roster so deep. That was a portal heavy class. He is currently the coach in a conference that it doesn't want to be in anymore. So there's a lot of change coming with Florida State, and you know which brand is bigger. The college football world told you that directly. Okay. I think that would be, I would not sleep on that one, because obviously Alabama's going to want to get someone proven or someone that has coached at Alabama, right? It would, I don't know. I just think Mike Norvell would make a lot of sense. It would be very, very, very spicy. So there you go. The question is, will it be easy to get all those 4 and 5 stars? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. Is it the program or is the coach? You tell me. The funny thing about it, and this is just from, my personal standpoint, is, man, let me see. It's a text from someone with college football knowledge who I trust. He says, Carter, I don't think Mike Norvell would take it, but he would listen. Of course, I think everybody would listen, though. This is so wild. This is so wild to me. Biggest day in college football history was today. The end of an icon. The GOAT. The best to ever do it. Him and Eddie Robinson. Okay. I will lean towards Alabama having some success just because there is so much talent there. But one thing I have always contended, okay, what is the best job in college football? And I will always pick LSU. All right. I'm not going to say LSU is the best program. That's not what I'm saying. Georgia's a better program. Alabama's a better program. Ohio State's a better program. Okay. But we are about to see the ultimate litmus test. Is it the school or is it the coach? At LSU, it has always been the school, the brand, the footprint. Alabama is obviously in a very fertile footprint around Georgia, obviously around Alabama. They've never had issues recruiting Florida. They recruit Louisiana. They recruit Texas. They They've got a really fertile recruiting ground. But look, I still think Auburn's best days are ahead of them with Hugh Freeze, and they have done a whale of a job of recruiting. So I really do think Nick Saban is about to really put Alabama to the test here, and I'm pumped up about it. They've got good young pieces. They do return their quarterback. They do return Caleb Downs, one of the best freshman safeties you'll see. Okay, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. All right. No, I think Fickle is too small here. Okay, as crazy as that sounds. And Dan Lanning, that seems to be the direction. Now, does Dan take the job? I think he would have to at this point. But I could also see him staying at Oregon. All right. But now I want to talk about the ripple effects. Okay. Obviously, the biggest news and the biggest needle mover from an SEC perspective is if an SEC coach goes to Alabama. All right. If obviously Lane Kiffin goes to Alabama, or is there another SEC coach that would make the move from where they are right now to Alabama? I don't think Brian Kelly does it. I don't think that's where Alabama would go anyway. Brent Venables, that's not Alabama. He's pretty locked in at Oklahoma. Steve Sarkisian would probably be the only one outside of Kiffin. Would Alabama kick the tires on Mark Stoops? I doubt it. And I wouldn't go that direction. You guys know how I feel about him. Hugh Freeze obviously wouldn't take that job. Or would he? I don't know. Y'all, this is my former workout instructor, the wonderful Nurse Jackie. Good to see you. She is a longtime Nick Saban fan. Would Lincoln Riley take the Alabama job? Probably not. Okay. Would he take that job? No. I would also tell you that Alabama wouldn't want him. Okay. There are some people, okay, involved with USC who I've heard from that has displayed their frustration on Lincoln Riley, right? Alabama is always going to be known for their defense. You're going to bring in a guy who has perpetually had bad defenses, ignored that side of the football. I also think Alabama is such a big job and there's going to be so much pressure that I wouldn't get a play caller head coach, right? I think that's why Alabama's going to want to go get Dan Lanning, because that's a CEO type of job. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of recruiting, but you have so much talent that, you know, the offensive scheme isn't as important there as it is other places. It's still important. Okay. And it might be another reason that they go get Dan Lanning, because Dan would probably be a little bit more open to keeping the OC, Tommy Rees, and also would be better served getting a defensive coordinator hired. And I think that's the side of the football Alabama would be more concerned about with Nick leaving. Linda, good to see you. Always holding it down for North Louisiana. Jared wants to talk Kirby Smart. Would Kirby make the move to Alabama? That's probably the one A-list name who would be the least likely to take the Alabama job. That's definitely a lateral move, and Kirby played at Georgia. So I just don't think he would do that. But you never know. He might be forever indebted to his mentor. Okay. You don't want to be the first guy after the GOAT. Next coach will be fired in 2 years. Okay. Crazy. Crazy. I can't wait for plane tracker season. What's plane tracker season going to look like now? Here's the thing. You know, Lane Kiffin loves to fly to all these other SEC cities to recruit people. So if for some reason he was in Alabama, because I'm hearing that some have seen Lane in Alabama recently. Maybe it is for this. I don't know. But let me say this. Lane just seems a little too obvious, right? Let's go to TJ. I'm so glad TJ's been hanging out with us again. I wouldn't hire him, but would you take a look at Kyle Whittingham? Yeah, obviously, for those that don't know, Kyle Whittingham is the coach at Utah. And sure, I mean, he's been obviously really good at Utah. That would obviously be a step up for him. But that's a Northwestern guy, going from Northwestern back to the Southeast. Well, Carter, what about Dan Lanning? Well, Dan Lanning, before he went to Oregon, he was at Georgia. Okay. Let's go to Dante. What about Dabo Swinney? Yeah, that has always been the rumor that when Nick is done, it's going to be Dabo's job. Okay. Number one, Dabo's coming off his worst season. All right. And he's not been close to the playoff 2 consecutive years. All right. Well, technically 3 consecutive years, but still. Does this mean Dabo forgot to coach college football? No. But with Dabo, you're bringing in someone that likes to do things his own way, right? No transfer portal. He's not really a portal guy. Well, Alabama's been a big portal school recently. So, a few years ago, it seemed to be blatantly obvious that Dabo, being someone who's played at Alabama, it would make a lot of sense for Dabo Swinney. But I just don't see it happening. Sherry Berry. Whoever they want, they will go after and pay whichever amount to get. Jackie coming in hot. Will Bobby leave Arkansas for the Alabama job? I don't think Bobby Petrino would leave for the Alabama job because I don't think he would ever be offered that. But could he take a job and somebody hire him to be the OC at Alabama? Maybe. But I think they're going to want to keep Tommy Rees. What about promoting Tommy Rees to head coach? That would be pretty absurd. They will not go in that direction. And that's something else, Rob G. Who wants to follow Saban? I just don't think to go along with Rob G's point here, I just don't think Dabo's ego would want to be, hey, I'm the guy that's having to follow Nick. Okay. And here's one thing that everyone tends to forget about Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Okay. Is it true that Dabo Swinney is a college football legend? Yes. Is it true that Clemson had success before Dabo Swinney? Yeah, they won a natty, I believe, in 1980. But Clemson really is Dabo's program, right? Like it's when you think Clemson, you think Dabo Swinney. And when you think Alabama football, you think Nick Saban. But before Nick Saban, you had Bear Bryant and all these other legends, right? Right before Kirby Smart, there was Mark Richt. Georgia was a program. Alabama, Clemson really is Dabo Swinney's program. It's built around him. Okay. If he were to go to Alabama, the program is a star, right? It's Alabama, and you're going to be known as a guy that's following Nick. So even though I think there's a piece of Dabo Swinney that would love to coach for the school that he played for, I just don't think it's happening. I see LA Mom in here. Marcus wants to go Urban Meyer. Okay. Urban is not going to be the guy. And Urban Meyer is washed up. He's done. He's cooked. He is not in the right mindset to be a Division I Power 5 coach. Okay. And that is not the direction I would go. But I will say Urban Meyer at his peak was just as successful as Nick Saban at his peak. Okay. Urban had a really good record against Nick Saban. So Urban is one of the GOATs. Okay. There's just no other way around it. He's one of the modern day college football GOATs. It's just in his current state, he's probably not that. Okay. Gruden. Gruden's getting ready to join the Saints, allegedly. This is DEFCON 1 Special TK. What's up? There you go. Now, I do have a 6 p.m. show to get ready for. I wanted to go live immediately on the SEC channel. I will answer as many questions as I possibly can in the next 5 to 10 minutes. If you do super chat, we'll go straight into whichever topic you want to get into. The good thing about Alabama is you recruit so well, it really doesn't matter if the next guy you get is some scheme wizard. Okay. All right. This is kind of interesting. Okay. This broke during my live stream here. What's up, Andrew? The Vols winning the Natty. What if Alabama goes scorched earth and they go after Josh Heupel? That would be crazy. What if that is their phone call? That would be freaking insane. Kind of like this Tyrann Mathieu rookie card collection right here. I will say this news broke when I started to go live. Logan Diggs has committed to Ole Miss. Logan Diggs to Ole Miss. Is he committing there if he doesn't know if Lane's going to be there next season? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. That is so interesting. Oh, Nick. Mm. Logan Diggs. Yeah, Andrew, we brought up Norvell a little bit earlier. So there you go. Now, I will be live on my LSU channel at 6 p.m. Central. We'll see you then. But this was a fun live stream. Big thanks to the top supers, E. Clay and Mr. Como. Let's go. The GOAT has hung up the whistle one final time. And it's Power Hour SEC Boom. And tonight we are doing tacos. Taco Wednesday, right? Isn't that how it goes? Let's go.